Close your eyes for a moment, and let the sounds of modern New York fade away. Imagine the year is 1872, and you are standing on the Brooklyn waterfront. The air here is different than what you know. It is thick with the scent of salty river mist, the pungent aroma of roasted coffee from the nearby warehouses, the faint, ever-present smell of coal smoke from the passing tugboats. The sun is beginning to set, casting long, golden shadows across the cobblestones of Hicks Street. You can hear the rhythmic clatter of horse-drawn carriages and the distant, metallic ringing of hammers against iron. This is a city in the midst of a transformation, a place of ambitious dreams and growing shadows. Tonight, we are going to sit quietly in the parlor of a brick house at 326 Hicks Street, where a woman named Emily Warren Roebling is about to change history. The house is quiet, save for the ticking of a grandfather clock and the occasional rustle of paper. Upstairs, in a room with a wide view of the East River, her husband Washington Roebling sits in a specialized chair. He is the chief engineer of the Great Bridge Project, but he is a man broken in body. He suffers from the bends, a mysterious and agonizing sickness contracted from his time spent in the pressurized caissons deep beneath the riverbed. He cannot walk easily, he cannot endure the noise of the construction site. He watches his bridge through a pair of powerful binoculars, a silent observer of his own creation. But he is not alone. Emily is there, moving between the upstairs sickroom and the downstairs world with a grace that hides the immense weight she carries on her shoulders. Imagine the desk where Emily sits. It is covered in heavy ledgers, inkwells, and intricate technical drawings. For 11 years, Emily has acted as the bridge's liaison and surrogate engineer. She did not start as an expert in iron or stone, but necessity is a powerful teacher. To help her husband, she has mastered the complex language of higher mathematics. She has spent her nights studying the catenary curve, that perfect, sagging mathematical principle that dictates how a heavy cable will hang between 2 points to balance its own weight. The tension of the span. She understands the stresses and the strains, the physics of wind and the chemistry of steel. She has become the bridge's mind while Washington remains its soul. And together, they are fighting a battle that the public cannot yet see. But there is a chill in the air tonight that has nothing to do with the river breeze. In the 1870s, New York is under the thumb of Tammany Hall, a political machine often referred to as the Ring. Led by the notorious William Boss Tweed, this organization thrives on corruption, kickbacks, and the quiet theft of public funds. The Brooklyn Bridge is the largest, most expensive engineering project in the history of the world, with a final cost that will eventually reach $15.5 million. To the men of Tammany Hall, this bridge is not just a feat of engineering, it is a golden prize. They want to control the contracts. They want to dictate who provides the stone and who supplies the steel. Most of all, they want to remove Washington Roebling. The political whispers are growing louder. Historians believe that the leaders of the bridge ring viewed Washington's illness as a weakness they could exploit. They began to question his competence, suggesting that a man who could not physically stand upon the bridge could not possibly be leading its construction. They wanted to replace him with someone more malleable, someone who would look the other way when the ledgers were altered. Emily knows this. She hears the rumors in the drawing rooms and reads the veiled threats in the newspapers. She knows that if Washington is removed, the integrity of the bridge, the very safety of the structure, could be compromised by inferior materials and greedy shortcuts. Think about the pressure Emily feels as she prepares to attend a meeting of the Board of Trustees. She is a woman in a man's world, a world where women are expected to be ornaments, not architects. Yet, she dresses in her finest silk, adjusts her hat, and steps out into the Brooklyn night. She is not just going to represent her husband, she is going to defend his life's work. When she speaks to the trustees, she does not speak of her husband's frailty. She speaks of cable tension. She speaks of the 1,595 feet of the main span, which will be the longest in the world. She speaks with such technical authority that the men in the room find themselves silenced. She is the shield that protects the bridge from the corruption of the city. The work on the bridge is dangerous, and the cost is measured in more than just dollars. Records suggest that 27 workers lost their lives during the construction, not including the bridge's original designer, John Roebling, who died from tetanus after a freak accident on the docks. Emily feels every one of those losses. Each death is a heavy stone in the foundation of her conscience. She walks the footbridges high above the river, where the wind howls through the temporary structures. She sees the men working with the steel wire, the 14,000 miles of wire that will eventually be spun into the 4 massive cables. Imagine the sound of that wire being pulled across the river, a constant, low-frequency hum that vibrates in the teeth of everyone nearby. The construction is slow, a deliberate dance of stone and steel. Emily is there through the freezing winters when the river chokes with ice. Through the humid summers when the smell of the mud is almost unbearable. She is the one who carries the messages. She is the one who translates Washington's whispered instructions into orders for the foreman. She is the one who inspects the work. For 11 years, she is the invisible thread holding the entire project together. She manages the workers, the engineers, and the politicians with a tireless, quiet strength. She is the architect of the bridge's survival. As the years pass, the towers rise higher and higher, 2 massive granite sentinels watching over the harbor. The people of Brooklyn and New York begin to look up in awe. They see the cables being spun, a web of silver against the blue sky. But for Emily, the bridge is more than a landmark. It is a testament to her devotion. It is the physical manifestation of her intelligence. She has sacrificed her youth and her social standing to ensure that this bridge stands. She has fought the corruption of Tammany Hall at every turn, refusing to let the project fall into the hands of those who would see it as nothing more than a source of graft. Now, let the clock tick forward to the morning of May 24, 1883. It is a day of celebration, a day the cities of New York and Brooklyn have waited for since the first stone was laid. The sun is shining brightly, and the streets are decorated with bunting and flags. There are thousands of people lining the shores, their voices rising in a joyous cacophony. The bridge is finished. The 1,595 5-foot span is complete. The $15,500,000 has been spent. The 27 lives lost are remembered in the silence between the cheers. Imagine the first crossing. It is not the president or the mayor who leads the way. It is Emily. She is seated in a carriage, and in her lap, she carries a white rooster. This is an old tradition, a symbol of victory and good luck. As the carriage moves onto the wooden planks of the bridge, the rooster ruffles its feathers and crows. Emily looks out over the water, her eyes moving from the towers to the cables she knows so intimately. She looks back toward 326 Hicks Street, where Washington is watching through his binoculars. This is their moment. The corruption of the ring could not stop them. The sickness could not break them. The river could not hold them back. The bridge is a marvel of the age. It is a cathedral of commerce, a triumph of the catenary curve. People walk across the promenade, marveling at the height and the view. They feel the solid strength of the stone and the flexibility of the steel. But as they walk, few of them know the name Emily Roebling. They do not know that she was the one who understood the mathematics of the tension. They do not know that she was the one who stood up to the most powerful, corrupt men in the city to ensure the bridge was built with honesty and care. But Emily's story does not end with the bridge. She is a woman of restless intellect and enduring ambition. Even after the bridge is finished, she continues to seek knowledge. In 1899, years after the first carriage crossed the East River, Emily graduates from New York University with a law degree. She is a pioneer in every sense of the word. She has navigated the world of engineering, the world of politics, the world of law, always with the same calm, deliberate focus that defined her years on the bridge. As you lie there, imagine the bridge at night. The lights of the city reflect off the steel cables, making them look like strings on a giant harp. The river flows quietly underneath, carrying the secrets of the 19th century out to sea. The corruption of Tammany Hall is a distant memory now, a shadow that faded in the light of the bridge's completion. The bridge ring is gone, but the bridge remains. It stands as a monument to the 14,000 miles of wire, the $15.5 million, and the 11 years of silent leadership provided by a woman who refused to be overlooked. The Brooklyn Bridge is not just made of stone and steel. It is made of the resilience of Emily Roebling. It is made of the quiet nights at 326 Hicks Street, the scratching of a pen on a technical drawing, the steady beat of a heart that wouldn't give up. It is a bridge between two cities, but it is also a bridge between the old world. The new, a world where a woman's mind could master the catenary curve and build something that would last for centuries. Listen to the wind as it whistles through the high cables. It is a soft, soothing sound, like a lullaby for a city that never sleeps. The bridge is steady. The towers are firm. The cables are taut. Everything is in balance, just as Emily calculated it would be. The tension is perfectly distributed. The weight is supported. The journey is complete. But as the moon rises over the East River, the gaslights of 1883 begin to dim in your mind. Remember that every great thing ever built was once just a dream held by someone who refused to let it go. Emily Roebling held that dream for 11 years, through sickness, scandal, through wind and rain, until it became a reality that we can still touch today. She is the silent architect, the protector of the project. The woman who walked across the water before the rest of the world believed it was possible. As you drift closer to sleep, think of the white rooster she held in her lap. Think of the victory it represented. Not just a victory over the river, but a victory over the corruption that tried to steal the bridge's soul. Emily won that battle. She saved the bridge, and in doing so, she saved the legacy of the Roebling name. The bridge belongs to the people now, but its heart will always belong to the woman who understood the catenary curve better than anyone else. The air in your room is cool and still. The sounds of the world are far away. Imagine you are standing on the very center of the bridge, exactly 1,595 feet from where you started. Below you, the water is dark and deep. Above you, the stars are bright and clear. You are safe. You are held by the steel and the stone. You are part of the story now, a story of 1872 and 1883, of 1899 and beyond. The bridge is a promise kept. It is a path forward. It is the work of 11 long years and the courage of one remarkable woman. Let the rhythm of the river carry you away. Let the strength of the granite towers give you peace. The cables are holding. The tension is right. The bridge is standing, and it will stand for a long, long time. Emily Roebling's work is done. She can rest now, knowing that her bridge has become the icon she always knew it would be. She can put down the ledgers and the drawings. She can blow out the lamp at 326 Hicks Street and look out one last time at the lights on the water. The bridge is hers. It is her masterpiece, her law, and her legacy. In the next chapter, we will see how the bridge changed the world once the gates were opened. We will see the cities grow and the people flock to the new horizon. But for tonight, we stay here in the quiet of the 1870s, with the smell of the salt air. The memory of a woman who built a bridge out of nothing but math and willpower. Sleep now, and dream of the silver cables stretching across the sky. Dream of the white rooster and the golden sun on the granite towers. Dream of the 14,000 miles of wire that connect us all to the past. The bridge is there, waiting for the morning, steady and true in the darkness. You are part of its history, and its history is part of you. The grandfather clock at 326 Hicks Street strikes the hour, a soft, resonant sound that echoes through the halls. The house is peaceful. The bridge is quiet. The corruption is gone, and only the beauty remains. 11 years of work. 27 lives. $15.5 million. One bridge. One woman. One perfect, enduring legacy. Everything is as it should be. The catenary curve is holding. The tension is balanced. The world is at rest. The bridge is standing. Emily is watching. And you are safe in the arms of history. Good night, and may your dreams be as vast and as strong as the bridge that Emily Roebling built with her hands and her heart. The gaslight flickers one last time and goes out. The room is dark, but the bridge is glowing in the moonlight. You can hear the water lapping against the stones. You can hear the wind in the wires. It is a song of victory, a song of love, and a song of a bridge that will never fall. The silence of the night is a gift, a moment to breathe and to remember the silent architect who made it all possible. As the final echoes of the 1800s fade, you find yourself drifting into a deep and peaceful slumber. The bridge is there, a silent guardian in the mist. It will be there when you wake up, and it will be there for generations to come. Emily made sure of that. She fought the ring, she mastered the science, and she crossed the water. Now, you can cross into your dreams, knowing that some things are built to last forever. The journey of the Roeblings is a long one, filled with shadows and light. But tonight, the light has won. The bridge is open. The way is clear. The story of Chapter 7 is complete, and the bridge is finally, truly, ours. Rest now. The cables are strong. The stone is deep. The bridge is yours to keep in your heart as you sleep. And the silent architect is finally at peace. The history books will remember the dates and the numbers, the 1595. 5 feet and the May of 1883. They will remember the cost and the deaths. But we will remember the woman at the desk. We will remember the white rooster. We will remember the catenary curve and the 11 years of quiet, fierce devotion. This is the story of the bridge, and this is the story of Emily. Sleep quietly now. The river is calm. The bridge is steady. The night is yours. The long, slow construction of the dream is finished, and the celebration is just beginning. In the morning, the sun will rise over the East River, and the bridge will shine like a crown of steel. But for now, there is only the silence, the salt air, and the deep, restful dark. Good night. Imagine yourself standing by a window in the late afternoon of a cool, crisp autumn day in 1882. The sun is beginning its slow descent behind the jagged silhouette of Manhattan, casting long, amber shadows across the cobblestones of Brooklyn Heights. You are inside a quiet, meticulously kept room at 326 Hicks Street. The air here smells faintly of old parchment, lavender water. The metallic, cold scent of the river that drifts in when the windows are cracked just a fraction. There is a profound stillness in this house, a heavy, expectant silence that seems to hold its breath. This is the home of Washington and Emily Roebling, and it is the secret nerve center of the greatest engineering feat of the 19th century. Through a pair of heavy brass binoculars resting on a tripod by the window, you can see the Great Bridge. It is a colossus of granite and steel, stretching across the East River like a tether between two worlds. The main span, a staggering 1,595. 5 feet of architectural ambition, is the longest in the world, a record that many whispered was a fool's errand to even attempt. For 11 long, grueling years, this house has been more than a home, it has been an outpost of determination. As you settle into the warmth of this story, picture Emily Warren Roebling sitting at a dark oak desk, her pen moving with a rhythmic, steady scratch across the paper. She is a woman of remarkable poise, her eyes reflecting a decade of hidden labor. For over a decade, she has been the bridge's liaison, its surrogate engineer, and its most fierce protector. While her husband, Washington, remains confined to his chair, his body broken by the bends, or caisson disease, contracted in the pressurized depths of the river years ago, Emily has become his hands, his feet, his voice. She has mastered the complex language of stress and strain, of tension and torque. She has spent her evenings studying higher mathematics, delving into the mysteries of the catenary curve, that perfect mathematical principle that dictates how a heavy cable hangs between 2 points to distribute its own weight. She knows the tension of every wire and the depth of every anchor. She has managed the 14,000 miles of steel wire that now weave through the 4 massive cables, enough wire to wrap halfway around the entire Earth. But in the year 1882, the air outside this quiet room is thick with a different kind of tension. The bridge is nearing its completion, but the cost has ballooned to a staggering $15 million, $500,000. To the Board of Trustees, this sum is a weight that rivals the granite towers themselves. They are men of business and politics, men who deal in ledgers and public perception, and they are growing restless. They look toward the house on Hicks Street and see only a phantom. They see a chief engineer who has not set foot on the construction site in years. They hear rumors and whispers in the smoky clubs of New York. They ask themselves, who is truly building this bridge? Is it a dying man in a darkened room, or is it his wife, a woman they believe has no place in the world of iron? Stone. The suspicion is a slow-growing vine, wrapping itself around the project, threatening to choke the life out of Washington's career just as the finish line comes into view. You can almost hear the low, hushed voices of the trustees meeting in their mahogany-paneled boardrooms. They speak of efficiency, of accountability, of the need for a leader who can be seen, a leader who can stand on the towers and command the thousands of laborers. They do not see the 27 workers who have already given their lives to this bridge, excluding the late John Roebling himself. They do not see the sacrifice of blood and bone that has already been paved into the foundations. They only see the delays and the mounting costs. They begin to plot. A motion is prepared, a formal attempt to remove Washington Roebling from his position as chief engineer. It is a move that would not only strip him of his title but would erase him from the history of his own creation. It is a moment of profound vulnerability for the Roebling family, a crisis that threatens to undo 11 years of silent, heroic work. The pressure builds as the winter of 1882 approaches. The trustees demand proof of Washington's competence. They want to know how a man who cannot walk across a room can supervise the most complex bridge ever built. They do not understand the bridge that Emily has built between her husband's brilliant mind and the reality of the construction site. They do not see the thousands of letters, the detailed technical drawings, and the daily instructions she carries to the assistant engineers. To them, she is an anomaly, perhaps even a nuisance. They decide to bring the matter to a head, calling for a vote that will determine the fate of the project. Imagine the weight of this news as it reaches the house on Hicks Street. The flicker of the gaslight on the wall seems to dim. Washington, sitting in his chair, his eyes fixed on the bridge through the window, feels the cold wind of betrayal. But Emily does not falter. She has not spent 11 years learning the strength of steel to be broken by the whims of men in suits. Emily realizes that the survival of her husband's legacy depends entirely on her ability to navigate the treacherous waters of public and political opinion. She prepares to do something nearly unheard of for a woman of her time. She prepares to address the American Society of Civil Engineers. She must prove that the work is sound, that the 14,000 miles of wire are strung with perfect precision, and that the 1,595 5-foot span is as safe as the ground beneath their feet. She must explain the catenary curve and the distribution of weight with such clarity and authority that no man can doubt her husband's oversight. She is fighting for more than a bridge, she is fighting for the honor of a man who gave his health to the city. For the memory of a father-in-law who gave his life. The $15,500,000 price tag is a heavy burden, but the cost of failure would be immeasurable. In the days leading up to the confrontation, Emily walks the bridge. Imagine the sound of her boots on the wooden planks, the wind whipping her skirts as she climbs the heights. Below her, the river churns, a dark and icy green. Above her, the cables hum in the breeze like the strings of a giant harp. She looks at the 27 markers of the fallen, those men who died in the caissons or fell from the towers. She feels their presence. She knows every inch of this structure. She knows the smell of the wet granite and the sound of the rivets being hammered home. She is the bridge's soul. She returns to Hicks Street and sits with Washington, sharing her strength with him. They are a team of two, a quiet partnership that has defied the limitations of medicine and the conventions of society. They wait for the day of the vote, the day when the board will decide if the silent architect will be allowed to finish his masterpiece. The morning of the meeting is gray and overcast. The city of Brooklyn is a landscape of muffled sounds, the clip-clop of horse hooves on stone, the distant whistle of a ferry boat. Emily dresses with care, her movements calm and deliberate. She carries with her the technical reports, the progress updates, and the unwavering conviction that they are right. In the meeting hall, the air is thick with cigar smoke and the scent of damp wool. The trustees are gathered, their faces set in expressions of stern duty. They discuss the delays, the millions of dollars spent, and the perceived absence of leadership. Then, Emily speaks. Her voice is a contrast to the rumbling tones of the men. It is clear, steady, filled with a profound knowledge of the subject at hand. She does not plead, she presents. She speaks of the mathematics of the span, the durability of the steel, and the timeline for completion. She makes it clear that to remove Washington Roebling now would be to sabotage the very project they wish to save. As she talks, you can imagine the shift in the room. The skepticism begins to melt into a reluctant respect. These men, who pride themselves on their logic, their vision, find themselves faced with a woman who knows more about their bridge than they ever will. She describes the 1,595 feet of the main span not just as a measurement, but as a triumph of human will. She speaks of the $15,500,000 as an investment in the future of two great cities, a bond that will last for centuries. She does not mention her own 11 years of service directly. It is there in every word she speaks, in every technical detail she provides. She is the living proof of the bridge's progress. The trustees realize that they cannot fire Washington without also losing Emily, and they realize that without the Roeblings, the bridge might never be finished. The vote is called, and the motion to remove Washington Roebling is defeated. The silent architect remains. The walk back to Hicks Street that afternoon must have felt lighter, even as the fog began to roll in from the harbor. Emily returns to Washington with the news that their work will continue. The threat has passed, but the urgency remains. There are still months of work to be done. The final cables must be wrapped, the roadway must be completed, and the world must be prepared for the grand opening on May 24, 1883. But for now, in the quiet of 326 Hicks Street, there is a moment of peace. The bridge outside the window glows in the twilight, its towers like sentinels guarding the family within. Washington looks out at the 14,000 miles of wire he helped design, and Emily sits beside him, her hand resting on his. They have survived the suspicion of the board, just as they have survived the dangers of the river. They are the architects of a new era. Think for a moment about the immense pressure Emily carried during those 11 years. It was not just the engineering problems or the political games, it was the emotional weight of holding a family and a project together. She was a woman who would eventually graduate from NYU with a law degree in 1899, showing that her intellect was never confined to just one field. But in 1882, her world was the bridge. Every day was a cycle of checking calculations and visiting the site, then returning to translate the progress to her husband. She was his eyes when he could not see the work, his ears when he could not hear the workers. The 27 deaths that occurred during the construction were a constant reminder of the stakes. Every life lost was a scar on the project, a reminder that the river was a jealous mistress that did not give up its secrets easily. Emily and Washington bore these losses with a heavy heart, determined that no more should perish if it could be helped. As the year 1882 winds down, the bridge is nearly a complete thought. The catenary curves are perfect. The $15.5 million has been spent, and though the cost was high, the result is a wonder of the world. The trustees have retreated into the background, their suspicions silenced by the undeniable reality of the rising towers and the sweeping cables. The city is beginning to buzz with the anticipation of the opening day. People speak of the white rooster that Emily will one day carry across the bridge, a symbol of victory and good luck. They speak of the thousands of people who will walk where only birds and engineers have gone before. But here in the room on Hicks Street, the victory is more personal. It is the victory of a husband and wife who refused to let illness or politics steal their dream. It is the victory of a woman who stepped into a man's world and mastered it, not for fame, but for love and for duty. Close your eyes and imagine the sounds of the bridge at night in late 1882. The wind whistles through the steel stays, creating a low, humming vibration that can be felt in the very ground. The river laps against the granite caissons, 1,595. 5 feet apart, as if trying to push them back into the mud. But the towers hold. They hold because of the 14,000 miles of wire, and they hold because of the dedication of the woman at 326 Hicks Street. The bridge is no longer just a construction project, it is a monument to endurance. It has survived storms, fires, the bends, and now, it has survived the board's suspicion. The Roebling name will remain etched in the stone. Steel of the East River, a testament to a father's vision, a son's sacrifice, and a wife's brilliance. As we reach the end of this chapter, the year 1882 draws to a close with a sense of quiet triumph. The hurdles have been many, and the cost has been high, both in dollars and in human life. But the path is now clear. The bridge is almost ready to be given to the people. Emily's role as the surrogate engineer has been validated by the highest authorities. Though she will one day seek further education and a law degree in 1899, her greatest legacy is already stretching across the water. The white rooster, the symbol of their impending victory, waits in the wings. The grand celebration of May 24, 1883, is only months away. But tonight, there is only the soft glow of the lamp and the steady breathing of a man who knows his life's work is safe. The silence of Hicks Street is no longer a silence of tension, but a silence of preparation. The 1,595 5-foot span is a finished bridge in all but the final details. The 27 lives lost are honored in the strength of every beam and the tension of every wire. As the world outside prepares for a new year, Emily Roebling prepares for the day when she will finally walk the entire length of the bridge she helped build. She will be the first to cross, a symbol of everything a human being can achieve when they refuse to give up. The trustees have gone home to their beds, their doubts replaced by the undeniable majesty of the Roebling Bridge. The silent architect has won his battle, and the bridge stands ready to change the world forever. Listen to the rhythm of your own breath now, as steady and sure as the tension in the 14,000 miles of wire. The story of the Brooklyn Bridge is a story of heavy things, granite, steel, money, grief, but it is also a story of the lightest things, a woman's touch on a blueprint, a husband's whispered instruction, and the mathematical grace of a catenary curve. These are the things that truly hold the bridge up. These are the things that keep it standing even when the winds of suspicion blow their hardest. The bridge is a miracle of 1882, a promise made in stone and kept in steel. In the next chapter, we will see the culmination of all this effort. We will join the crowds on that bright May day in 1883. We will hear the cannons roar and see the fireworks light up the night sky over the East River. We will watch as Emily Roebling, carrying her white rooster, walks across the 1,595 5-foot span, her head held high as she claims the victory she so rightfully earned. We will see the $15,500,000 investment become a priceless part of the New York skyline. But for now, let the image of the bridge in the moonlight be your last thought. It is a bridge of dreams, a bridge of iron, and most of all, a bridge of love. The room at 326 Hicks Street is dark now, the lamp extinguished. The binoculars are covered, their work for the day done. Outside, the great cables shimmer like silver threads in the dark, connecting two cities and two hearts. The journey has been long, 11 years of struggle, but the end is in sight. Sleep now, knowing that the bridge is strong, that the engineers are at rest, and that tomorrow brings the final steps of this incredible journey. The suspicion of the board is a distant memory, and the glory of the opening is just over the horizon. The bridge is waiting for the dawn, and so are we. As you drift toward sleep, remember the numbers that define this story, the 1,595 5 feet of the span, the 14,000 miles of wire, the 27 souls who gave their all, and the $15.5 million that built a legend. But most of all, remember Emily. Remember the woman who mastered the catenary curve and held a crumbling dream together with nothing but her intellect and her will. She is the silent architect, the bridge's true champion, and her story is just beginning to reach its glorious conclusion. Rest in the knowledge that some things are built to last forever. Some stories, like this one, are meant to be told over and over, whenever the world needs a reminder of what courage looks like. The water of the East River flows quietly beneath the piers, moving toward the sea. The bridge remains, a permanent fixture in the sky. All is well in Brooklyn, all is well in Manhattan, and all is well in the house on Hicks Street. The silent architect can finally rest, for the bridge is sound, and the future is bright. May your dreams be as vast as the span of the bridge and as steady as the cables that hold it true. The year 1882 is fading into the past, and the grand opening of 1883 is waiting for the sun to rise. Good night, and let the peace of the great bridge carry you into a deep and restful sleep. The story of the Roeblings is a testament to the fact that even when we are confined, our minds can soar. Even when we are doubted, our work can speak for us. And even when the task seems impossible, the perfect curve of a cable and the steady hand of a partner can bridge any gap. The 1595. 5 feet are not just a distance, they are a journey of the spirit. And as the stars watch over the towers tonight, we know that the journey was worth every sacrifice. The bridge is there. It is real. It is beautiful. And it is waiting for tomorrow. Sleep well, for the bridge is holding firm, and the architect's wife has saved the day. Close your eyes and breathe in slowly, letting the weight of the day settle into the mattress beneath you. Imagine the year is 1882. The air in Brooklyn Heights is thick with the scent of salt spray from the harbor, mingled with the faint, metallic tang of coal smoke drifting from the steamships below. You are standing on a quiet, cobblestone street, outside a red brick house at 326 Hicks Street. The world here moves at a different pace. A slower, more deliberate rhythm. If you look up toward the second-floor window, you might see the faint, amber glow of a kerosene lamp. Behind that glass, a woman named Emily Roebling is sitting at a mahogany desk, her pen scratching rhythmically against thick parchment. For 11 years, this house has been the silent nerve center of one of the greatest engineering feats in human history. For 11 years, Emily has been the bridge between her husband's brilliant, confined mind and the massive stone towers rising from the East River. Washington Roebling, her husband, sits in a chair by that same window, his binoculars resting in his lap. He is the chief engineer, but the bends, that mysterious caisson disease, has left him partially paralyzed and sensitive to sound and light. He cannot step foot on the bridge. He cannot climb the scaffolding. And so, Emily became his eyes. She became his hands. She became his voice. But more than that, she became an engineer in her own right. Tonight, the house is quiet, but the air is charged with a quiet tension. The bridge is nearly finished, yet there are those who doubt. There are those in the halls of power. The offices of the American Society of Civil Engineers who whisper that a bridge cannot be built by a man who cannot leave his room. They do not yet realize that the bridge is being built by a woman who has mastered the complexities of stress analysis and cable tension. Imagine the rustle of Emily's silk dress as she stands to stretch her tired muscles. She has spent the afternoon calculating the catenary curve. That beautiful, mathematical principle that governs how a heavy chain or cable hangs under its own weight. It is a curve of perfect balance, a marriage of gravity and tension. To master the catenary curve is to understand the soul of the bridge. Emily understands it better than almost anyone alive. She knows that the main span will reach exactly 1,595. 5 feet, making it the longest in the entire world. She knows that every inch of that span must be supported by the delicate, sweeping arc of the steel cables. She looks out the window, past the rooftops, to where the great bridge looms like a giant harp against the twilight sky. The time has come for her to step out of the shadows. The American Society of Civil Engineers has called a meeting. They are skeptical. They are questioning the progress. They are questioning Washington's ability to lead. And so, Emily prepares to do something no woman of her time has done. She prepares to address a room full of the most prominent scientific minds in the country, not as a messenger, but as a peer. As you drift deeper into the story, feel the cool evening breeze of 1882 pressing against the windowpane. The room is filled with the soft ticking of a grandfather clock, marking the seconds of a decade spent in service to a dream of stone. Steel. The day of the meeting arrives with a pale, gray light over the Brooklyn docks. Emily dresses with great care, her movements calm and precise. She knows the facts by heart. She knows the numbers because she has lit them. She knows that the total length of the steel wire used in the bridge's cables is 14,000 miles. Enough to wrap halfway around the Earth. She has tracked every shipment, every spool, every strand. She knows the financial weight of the project as well, the staggering final cost of $15,500,000, a sum that would make lesser hearts falter. But Emily does not falter. She carries the weight of the bridge in her mind, a map of every bolt and every beam. As she enters the hall where the engineers are gathered, the room falls into a sudden, heavy silence. Imagine the smell of stale tobacco and heavy wool coats. The men look up, their faces etched with surprise and perhaps a touch of condescension. They see a woman in a formal gown, her hair pinned back neatly. They expect a polite update. They expect a wife's testimony. But as Emily begins to speak, the atmosphere in the room shifts. Her voice is steady, low, and resonant. She does not speak of her husband's health or the emotional toll of their isolation at 326 Hicks Street. Instead, she speaks of structural mechanics. She speaks of the catenary curves and the precise tension required to hold the 1,595 5-foot span against the battering winds of the Atlantic. She explains the intricate process of spinning the cables, detailing how the 14,000 miles of wire were woven together to create a strength that could withstand the passage of time itself. She addresses their concerns about the foundation and the stability of the towers with a technical fluency that leaves them speechless. She is not merely repeating Washington's words, she is demonstrating her own mastery of the craft. The engineers lean forward, their skepticism melting into a profound, hushed respect. They realize they are not looking at a surrogate, but at the silent architect who has held the project together for 11 long years. Emily's mind flashes back to the darker days, the days that the men in this room did not see. She remembers the 27 workers who died during the long years of construction, lives claimed by the river, the bends, and the heights. She remembers John Roebling, Washington's father, whose vision started it all before he too was taken by the project. The bridge is built on sacrifice, a fact Emily never forgets. She speaks of the $15,500,000 not just as a budget, but as a sacred trust given by the people of Brooklyn and New York. When she finishes her address, the silence that follows is different than the one that greeted her. It is a silence of awe. The engineers realize that the bridge is no longer just a blueprint or a construction site. It is a reality, held together by the will of this woman. She has navigated the politics, the mathematics, and the sheer physical exhaustion of the task. As she leaves the hall, the sound of her footsteps on the wooden floor echoes like the steady beat of a drum. She returns to the quiet of Hicks Street, back to the room where Washington waits. She tells him of the meeting, her voice a soothing balm in the dim light. They are so close now. The 11 years of struggle are converging toward a single day in May. Now, let your mind drift forward to the morning of May 24, 1883. This is the day the world has been waiting for. The sun rises over a city transformed. Flags fly from every rooftop in Brooklyn and Manhattan. The streets are packed with people, a sea of hats and parasols, all turning their eyes toward the East River. But before the politicians arrive, before the parades begin, there is a private moment of victory. Imagine Emily Roebling standing at the entrance of the bridge on the Brooklyn side. The air is crisp and clear. The stone towers, those massive Gothic arches, reach toward the heavens, solid and eternal. In her arms, Emily carries a white rooster. It is a symbol of victory, a traditional gesture of triumph for a completed work. She is to be the first person to cross the bridge in a carriage. As the wheels begin to turn, the sound of the carriage on the fresh roadway is a low, rhythmic hum. The white rooster ruffles its feathers, a bright spot of light against the gray stone. As Emily travels across the 1,595 5 feet of the main span, she looks up at the web of steel cables. 14,000 miles of wire, shimmering in the morning sun. She thinks of the $15,500,000 spent and the 27 lives lost, and she knows that the cost was high, but the achievement is monumental. She looks back toward 326 Hicks Street, knowing that Washington is watching through his binoculars, his heart swelling with a pride that words cannot express. For 11 years, they have lived for this crossing. The carriage moves slowly, deliberately, allowing Emily to take in every detail. The wind whips off the river, carrying the salt and the sound of distant cheering. She is no longer just the wife of an engineer. She is the woman who saw the bridge through its darkest hours. She is the one who understood the catenary curve when the world doubted it could hold. As she reaches the Manhattan side, the cheers of the crowd grow into a roar like the ocean. But Emily remains calm, her spirit anchored by the work she has done. The official opening on May 24, 1883, is a day of speeches and fireworks, a day of celebration for the cities. But for Emily, the true celebration happened in the quiet hours of study, in the technical defense of the project, in the steady support of her husband. She has proven that the mind knows no gender when it comes to the laws of physics and the beauty of design. But the story of Emily Roebling does not end on the bridge. Years later, in 1899, she would achieve another milestone, graduating with a law degree from New York University. Her mind never stopped seeking, never stopped building. She understood that life, like a bridge, requires a solid foundation and the ability to withstand the tensions of the world. As you begin to feel the pull of sleep, imagine the Brooklyn Bridge at night, as it looked in the years after its completion. The lights along the cables look like a necklace of diamonds draped across the velvet throat of the river. The bridge stands as a monument to the Roeblings, but especially to Emily. Think of the 14,000 miles of wire, each strand a testament to her persistence. Think of the 1,595 5-foot span, a distance she bridged not just with steel, but with her intellect. Think of the 326 Hicks Street house, where a woman sat by a lamp and redrew the maps of what was possible. The $15,500,000 was a fortune, but the legacy she left was priceless. The 27 workers who gave their lives are remembered in the stones, and Emily is the spirit that binds those stones together. Listen to the distant sound of the water lapping against the stone piers of the bridge. It is a soothing, repetitive sound, a lullaby of the river. The bridge is a place of transition, a way to get from one side to the other, just as sleep is a transition from the noise of the day to the quiet of the night. You are safe, tucked away in the warmth of your room, just as the bridge is held safe by the mathematical perfection of the catenary curve. Everything is in balance. Everything is secure. The image of Emily and her white rooster fades into a soft, golden blur. You can almost feel the gentle swaying of the carriage as it moves across the span. The 11 years of labor are over. The work is done. The bridge is open. Emily's voice, which once commanded the respect of the greatest engineers in the land, is now a whisper in the wind, telling you that you have done enough for today. The complexities of the world, the stresses, and the tensions, are all managed. They are all held by a strength you do not have to carry alone. As you drift further into the quiet, remember that the bridge still stands. It has stood since May 24, 1883, surviving the storms and the passage of millions of souls. It stands because someone cared enough to learn the math, to stay the course, to believe in the invisible lines of tension that hold us all together. The story of Emily Roebling is a story of quiet power, the kind of power that doesn't need to shout to be heard. It is the power of a steady hand and a focused mind. Imagine the stars coming out over the East River, reflecting in the dark, moving water. The towers of the bridge are silhouettes against the deep blue of the night sky. The 14,000 miles of wire are silent now, humming only with the vibration of the wind. The house at 326 Hicks Street is dark, its work finished, its legacy secure. You can rest now, knowing that the structures of your life are built on solid ground. The catenary curve is in perfect repose. Tomorrow is a new chapter, a new day to walk across the bridges you have built. But for tonight, there is only the rhythm of your breath. The soft memory of a woman who carried a white rooster across a bridge of steel. The final cost has been paid, the 11 years have passed, and the span is 1,595. 5 feet of pure, unadulterated triumph. Let the weight of the story pull you down into a deep, restful sleep. The harbor is quiet. The city is still. The bridge is waiting for the dawn, but you are already there, in the peaceful dark of a well-earned rest. Emily Roebling is at peace, her law degree of 1899 a future promise, her bridge a present reality. The 27 workers are at rest in the foundations of the great towers. The $15,500,000 has been spent, and in return, the world received a masterpiece. Sleep now, and let the gentle arc of the bridge guide your dreams. As the lamp in the window of 326 Hicks Street finally flickers out, the darkness is warm and inviting. You are crossing over now, leaving the shore of the waking world and heading toward the quiet horizon of sleep. The carriage is moving slowly, the wheels making a soft, rhythmic sound on the wooden planks. The air is cool, the stars are bright, and the bridge is strong. It will always be strong. In the next chapter, we will see what happens when the first footsteps of the public touch the roadway. How the bridge changed the world forever. But that is a story for another time. For now, there is only the silence of the river and the steady, enduring strength of the cables. You are drifting. Drifting like a boat on the tide, passing under the great bridge, looking up at the magnificent towers one last time before the light fades completely. The white rooster has closed its eyes. Washington has put down his binoculars. Emily has closed her ledger and set aside her pen. The house on Hicks Street is silent. The city of Brooklyn is dreaming. The city of New York is asleep. And you, too, are part of this quiet history. You are part of the balance, the tension, and the peace. The catenary curve holds you. The 14,000 miles of wire protect you. The 1,595. 5 feet of the span support you. Sleep, now. The bridge is finished. The story is told. The night is yours. May your dreams be as vast, as beautiful as the great bridge itself, and may you wake with the same quiet strength that Emily Roebling carried in her heart every single day of those 11 long years. The world is at rest. The river flows on. Everything is exactly as it should be. The air in the room is cool and still. The sounds of the modern world have faded away, replaced by the ghost of a horse's hooves on cobblestones. The distant chime of a ship's bell. You are back in 1883, safe in the embrace of a history that was built to last. The bridge is a promise kept. The speech has been given. The skeptics have been silenced. There is nothing left to do but let go and let the sleep take you across the final span of the day. Deep, slow breaths. The salt air. The silver wires. The stone arches. The white rooster. The 11 years. The $15,500,000. The 27 souls. The 1,595. 5 feet. The 326 Hicks Street. The May 24th morning. The law degree of 1899. The catenary curve. It all blends together into a soft, soothing tapestry of sound and memory. You are nearly there. The other side is waiting. The bridge has carried you home. One more breath. The light is gone. The story is complete. The bridge is yours. Sleep now. Sleep. Sleep.